Welcome to another allotment diary. Right, well, rain unfortunately has stopped play for a day or so, which has been a bit of a problem. I've contracted the cold as well, which has made it quite hard to dig reliably. You can see I had a wall of parsnips there that I was leaving to seed, and then I realised that actually by leaving them to seed, what I really meant was I was too lazy to dig them up. So I've actually removed them, and you can see they're not particularly brilliant, and they're going to be as woody as anything anyway. So those are all going to go, because my plan is I want to plant some plants over there. I'll show you this bit first. This bit, if you remember from a previous video, was under a sea of grass. That's what's left of the heap. I'm gradually moving that onto my main compost heap, but it's quite hard work to move it. But all this was a big sea of weeds, and I found some raspberries I'd forgotten about that I planted in there last year, so that's a bit of a bonus. And there's been a couple of baby potato plants, and those have come up. So what's going to go here is I'm going to put my pumpkins over here, because I figure if I start the pumpkins about here, and then they go over here, there's going to be plenty of room for them, which is obviously going to make for a really good growing area, without them then you know taking over everything. And by the time they get from there to sort of here, the edge of the pine berries, I could chop the ends off, and they'll be perfectly okay. So I think, to be fair, that's the plan. So they're going to have this space. I've got about 4 plants at home. These are going to move. I'll put them somewhere else. I haven't decided where yet, but I've got a little while before the pumpkins take over to finish my fruit beds on the other allotment. So this just needs basically that pile moving. Once that pile's moved, give it a quick dig over. Then here's some bags of manure. I've got another couple on the other allotment. These are going to be basically what's going to happen. I'm going to dig a hole, dump the manure in the bottom, and then plant the pumpkins on top of it. And that gives them a really good start in life. Pumpkins are very greedy plants, so it's going to really help them along. And you can see, I think the sun tracks from over here across to over there on the allotment. So basically it starts over there by the compost bin and ends up at the far side by my strawberry patch at the end. So those parsnips there are basically going to cast shade for sort of a third to a quarter of the day on the pumpkins, and I figured that, well, I'd rather they didn't, and frankly, for the cost of some seeds, I can use the space for something else, because so that's going to be all pumpkins there, so that's going to take quite a lot of space. Then here, under this sea of grass, which is actually surprisingly easy to pull up, there's a celery bush there, left over from last year, that survived the winter, which is interesting. So I'm going to plant courgettes and cucumbers down this side and round the back over there. There's a space at the back there behind the chives, which you can see are there. Now this was strawberries. Now the problem is, unfortunately, where this stupid grass has grown and the weeds have grown, it's actually killed off all the strawberry plants. So there's not as many strawberry plants as I thought I had. So I'm going to have to come back. I'm not doing this today, but I'll come back. I'll finish ripping up the grass and seeing what strawberries we've got, and then I can put them all on planters. There's some lovely, whatever those are, I think they're marigolds there. As I said, I think there's a blueberry somewhere at the back here, and various other herb plants, and who knows what else I'm going to find. I can see some carrots there, left over from last year, so there's quite a bit here. So it's getting there. This was a really big help, and you know, I'm very grateful for the chap who volunteered and came down and helped me out here, him and his friend. I really appreciate the help, because all this entire area was completely dug in just a couple of hours really, so it would have taken me an awful lot longer. So my job is to just go through, turn the soil over, and pull the rocks out, because there's quite a few rocks in there. So let's go and have a quick look at the other allotment now, and let's see what's happening over there. Okay, I still haven't managed to take that to the tip. I'm waiting for 3 or 4 days of dry weather, and then I've got to shake that all out, throw it in the back of the car and get rid of it. This is going to be a bed of something. It's not going to be raspberries, but there's raspberries absolutely everywhere in this. I have just pulled up a load of weeds, and I'm going to have to dig up all the raspberries and resite them. There's too many here for me, to be fair, and I'm going to do a more permanent bed over there for them. Lots of pleasant weeds here. This is all going to get sorted fairly shortly. Actually, it's going to be fairly high on the priority list now. Here's my peas. You can see that they are being nibbled, and you can also see from looking across there that quite a few haven't germinated. There's a couple of big ones over there. So it's a case of I'm going to give this bed a quick hoe later on, get all the grass and everything else up, and then once that's done, we'll put some more pea seeds into the gaps and see if we can get something, some more up. Just means we have 2 crops. The apple tree is doing well. I'm under no illusions we're going to see any apples this year, but there's plenty of nice new growth on it. It's bushing out nicely, so very pleased with that. The green gauge tree likewise is doing well. You can see there again, good growth on that, so I can't complain. These weeds are mostly down, so I use some organic weed killer here. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to come along probably later today or tomorrow, and I just want to give this a very quick dig, so I'll pull the weeds up. Then I've got buckets of stones that I've got off the soil, and then those I'm going to put some weed membrane down and basically nail it to the edges of these in the hope to try and stop it from escaping, the weeds escaping from underneath, and then eventually I'll bark over it or something, depending on what I can get hold of. There's another raised bed in there, and there's another raised bed where all those buttercups are there. So what's going to happen, as I said, I want to clear the paths between them. This is going to be the sort of a kid zone, if you like. That bed's going to be for 1 child, and this bed here is for a second, and then I'll use the others. I might even use one as a bit of a cold frame. I haven't decided yet, but my plan would be is to make very obvious paths between them, and then the kids know where they've got to go. They're not going to get into trouble for walking all over my plants, which, to be fair, they're children. They don't understand where things are planted, and they get excited. So that's going to be some very obvious beds there. And then I think you could just see the edge of the bed there. So I'm going to leave another sort of 1.5 foot wide path, and then I'm going to build some strawberry planters. They're going to be tower planters, so they're going to be about 6 foot tall, just along here, 3 or 4 of those. And again, the kids like the strawberries, paths around them, very easy for the children to access. Now, I've just noticed over here, I haven't come up this part of the allotment yet. I've not made it here, but look, there's a load of potatoes in the ground there. So I imagine by the time I get to them, they're going to be good and ready for eating. So that's a bit of a bonus as far as I'm concerned. Over here we've got the goji berries are actually doing surprisingly well. Very pleased with those. These are blackberries, and I think one's blackberry, one's loganberry, or 2 blackberries, I can't really remember. Of course, like any sensible gardener, I haven't bothered putting the labels on the plants. So we'll see when they fruit. I don't expect fruit this year, possibly next year, but they're going to need some supporting and training, so I'll put something in there. I left quite a bit of space, reasonable space between them. Same with the goji berries, they've got a reasonable enough space. They tend to grow up, they're quite climbers. And there's some gooseberries there that likewise I'll let them do their business and grow. Now, these are the onions that, if you remember, we planted the other day, and you can see they're just starting to poke their noses up above the soil. So that's rather good. Very pleased with that. There's some coming up there, so I've still got loads more to plant. So you can see I've just marked the end of the rows there. So I'll do another sort of 3-4 rows along here and just clear all that weed off there. The New Zealand yam or ochre, that's doing okay. It looked a bit peaky the other day, I must admit. I wasn't sure how well it was doing after being transplanted, but it's reasonably hardy, and it's coming up quite nicely. So quite excited to see those when they come up and try them. We've got some broad beans there that probably I can start picking some of those now. I did a quick weed of some of the bigger weeds on this bed, and they came up fairly easily. So we're going to clear some space there, get those rhubarb in now that it's stopped raining. Once that's clear, then this space is next, and we can clear some sweet corn there. But yeah, you can see I've had a quick pull, and actually the weeds aren't as bad as I thought. I mean, looking at this, I stand back because I can't actually zoom out any further. Looking at that, you'd feel utterly heartbroken if you saw it. But what I've discovered is actually there aren't that many weeds in there. Once you actually start ripping the tops off, the weeds at the bottom are actually, the root balls are quite small. And things like the buttercups, you know, just grow everywhere. They send out runners. Same with the grass. There's just like balls of grass that are really easy to put up. So I'm actually feeling quite positive about getting all the weeds up. And you can see there's a bed at the back there, which isn't too bad. There's potatoes over there again, loads of potatoes. So again, by the time I get to those, they should be ready to eat. Oh, there's a big stone down there. That's worth remembering, so I don't kill myself on it. This is another one of the potato beds. There's nothing come up yet. Honestly, I wouldn't expect them for another week or so. They're very late potatoes, unfortunately. Got some potatoes. These are earlies. These are looking quite nice. But I think the ones that are wild from last year, if you like, are going to be dug up first. These still got another month or so before they're ready. I can start taking them up a plant at a time. You can see over here, I got some of my sunflowers in. Unfortunately, there's one in the middle there. It's being got, but that's a shame. I've got some more sunflower seeds at home, so I'm going to plant some more and just get some more in here as a bit of fun. Unfortunately, slugs and snails are a serious problem this year, not just for me, but for all the plot holders here. And I must admit, a lot of people have resorted to organic slug pellets in an attempt to keep the things down. They're really a big problem for us all, but we're getting there. And once I've cleared the soil, see, the advantage is slugs like somewhere to hide. This is one reason I don't normally like things like this edging on the bed, but frankly, with the way these allotments are on the paths, if you don't have the edging, you don't really know where the path stops, and everything grows over, as you can see here. And then obviously it becomes very hard to know where to plant to. The path disappears, and it really does look untidy. I mean, if you just look along there at the path, that looks horrible. But if we come down here and you ignore all my junk, that looks a lot tidier. So basically my plan would be to put edging all the way along. And the downside of that is it gives somewhere for the slugs to hide. They'll hide down the back here, down these little crevices. They'll hide under things like this. They'll hide under the bucket. So eventually all this is going to be cleared and there'll be nowhere for them to hide. And what I found is when I clear a bed like this, you can see there's no ground cover on it at all. So slugs actually and snails don't like coming across it, because obviously then they're exposed and the lovely birds can get to them. So we tend to try and keep the soil clear, and I think that does a lot to combat the problem with slugs and snails. But unfortunately they are voracious eaters, and just a few of them will decimate your crop overnight. So unfortunately, you know, a lot of the time you have to resort to slug pellets. But what I'd recommend is come out either just after it's rained, because they like coming out after it's rained, or at dusk, you know, just as it's starting to go dark. If you come out then, what you'll typically find is they'll be everywhere, because that's when they come out. Slugs and snails don't like rain, because obviously they can drown in it. So what they tend to do is they'll come out when it rains, and then you can find them, and you can see they're actually decimating some of the plants over here. But once I've cleared some of this space here, they'll have nowhere to hide. And then they've got to try and bury themselves in the soil and things like that, and the numbers will significantly reduce as they disappear off and go and find someone else's plot, which is a bit more welcoming for them. So they're quite mercenary. But as I said, if I can keep the weeds down and keep the hidey holes gone, so once all these black bags have gone and I've dug in all that manure, then they're going to be a lot happier. I'm going to be a lot happier, because there's going to be nowhere for them to hide. because I can guarantee that if I lift up one of these bags, there'll be slugs underneath it. I mean, I turned my wheelbarrow over earlier, found half a dozen slugs and a wolf spider with an egg sac in it. So, you know, they hide anywhere. So removing the hidey holes is frankly one of the best things you can do in slug control, and you'll find it being an awful lot lesser than bothering you. So it's breakfast time for me now. I've done a little. Unfortunately, I'm quite out of breath because I've got a bit of a cold. So I'm going to go home, have some breakfast, and then we will. I'll look at coming back later on and doing some more work down here. I think I'm going to clear some space over there, get those rhubarb in. That's going to be my highest priority, and start working on the space for the pumpkins on the other plot. But we're getting there, and we are winning the battle against the weeds. Once I start pulling down some of these tall weeds, it'll look a lot tidier. But you can see it's starting to look like a proper allotment. I've cleared back a little bit of the path there, so I'll get that cleared, and there's more edging along there, so I'll get all that edged and get this middle bit weeded. I might well put some raspberry canes down there. Actually, that's not a bad idea. I could put a row of raspberries there. That'll work very nicely. And once that's done, we'll be getting there. As I said, I'd like to finish this spot today if I can, if the rain holds off, and finish the pumpkins, and then we can get started on the bed for the sweet corn, and hopefully have a good crop of that too. So I'll see you again in another video. Please leave your comments and your thoughts, and let me know how you're getting on with your allotment, and how you're winning your battle with slugs. I'm always interested in people's tips and tricks on dealing with those nasty little critters, and I'll see you in the next video.